With the start line almost 200 kilometres off the coast of the United States, the sailors cast off 24 hours before the race start. It's a chance to refocus and get into their race bubble.
We're going
to slowly get away from the marine life here, and then we'll be able to get a bit of an offshore start. It's going to be nice conditions. Quite a few thunderstorms at the start, so it's going to be a bit sporty. Then we'll try to find the best way to get to Les Sables d'Olonne. It's been champagne and glitter all week, so we'll definitely be able to refocus on the race, do some routing, get back into solo mode, return to our bubble just a bit. And we've got 24 hours to do it, so in the end, it's not so bad.
A stroke of bad luck for Louis Burton on his way to the start line when he crashes against a metal object floating below the surface. In the accident, Bureau Valley's headsail furlers are damaged. Burton puts out a request for help to the fleet, and thanks to Johan Richomme, manages to find a solution that'll get him to the start line on time. It's a fine example of sportsmanship and a fine balancing act too. On Wednesday evening at 8 p.m. GMT, Hubert Lemonnier and his race management team are monitoring the race start remotely from Race HQ in New York.
Départ dans 4, 3, 2, 1.
On est parti.
We are off, gliding gently in a light breeze.
Ça glisse tout doucement.
Maxime Sorel, Massif, a few others. Then, and I'm leading, I would say, is Violette d'Orange.
C'est le premier soir.
It's the first night and I'm ranked first in the Amoca fleet. That's so cool, and it's great to see them all behind me.
Plaisir, je les vois tous derrière là.
By crossing that start line, 9 competitors have qualified for the Vendee Globe, including Thomas Rouillon, for whom this is the first transatlantic race of 2024. There's also relief for Conrad Coleman.
Pretty tight racing here. We've just crossed the start line of the New York-Vendee Les Sables d'Olonne, and that means that I am qualified for the Vendee Globe! Ah!
A bit hairy at the start, but we made it. I think Max Sorrell crossed early though.
Despite the light conditions, 4 boats were spotted crossing the line early by race management watching in New York. Oliver Hare, Maxime Sorel, Eric Bellion and Benjamin Dutroux would have to serve a 3-hour penalty, which most took immediately, taking advantage of the light conditions.
Voilà, on est puni.
We're being punished and made to stand in the corner, condemned to watch them race away for 3 hours. That's what it's like when you cross early.
The first night is stormy, forcing the sailors into constant changes of sails and trim.
There are thunderstorms everywhere. They're on our starboard side. We're under spinnaker, so we have to be careful.
Major wind shifts mean a sleepless night, and the effects of the Gulf Stream add to the sailors' difficulties.
We've got a big problem. I've lost my autopilot. I was struck by lightning in a thunderstorm and my number 1 pilot was hit. When I tried to start up pilot number 2, it broke the tiller. There was a malfunction and now nothing works. I'm going to try and use both to make a single one. It won't be easy, but it's the only solution I've got.
Jeremy Bayou is the first to pass the Share the Ocean mark, ahead of a group of race favourites that are already setting the pace. Boris Herman and Sam Goodchild complete the leading 3 as they accelerate downwind and on the beam. As the foiling boats accelerate, the fleet begins to spread out and soon stretches over 200 miles. But in this zone under the North American continent, where the weather systems form before crossing the Atlantic, the computer-generated weather models are struggling to forecast wind strength and direction. It's an unusual situation for this time of year and means the sailors can't plot their medium-term routes, forcing them to react to the weather they have. Making sense of the changing conditions is making route planning a nightmare.
This is hard work. It's so hard. This is my speed. 1.5 knots.
The wind doesn't know where to go, the sea doesn't know where to go, and sometimes my boat doesn't have too many ideas either.
It's miserable. What a crappy day. I unrolled the big jennica, then it went into a spin. I got a halyard caught in it. It took me 3 hours to untangle everything. So now I'm eating carrots like a rabbit. I understand why it's crappy. It's the delirium.
Traditionally, rabbits aboard a sailing boat bring bad luck.
The fleet has been spreading out from north to south to try and find this miraculous point of passage through the transition zone, but so far I don't think anyone's managed to get through.
There's some real bad luck for Nicholas Lundven on day 3. Despite being in the leading group from the start, Lundven breaks his bowsprit. It's the second time in 2 races and will mean the skipper of Holcim will have to do without his downwind sails. Sunday the 2nd of June is the turning point in the race. The fleet stumbles into a windless zone that it can't shake off as the weather system tracks them from east to west. But there are 2 boats that manage to outrun the trough and hook onto a strong southerly wind beyond. The difference is just a few hundred metres. Charlie Dallin and Boris Herman have shown a willingness to take risks and a real understanding of the conditions. Coupled with a pinch of luck, they've given the fleet the slip, but are now on 2 very different routes. Whilst outrunning the weather system, Charlie has stayed on a direct route to the finish. Boris has chosen instead to head north. In just a few hours, this small difference will prove decisive to the outcome of the race. Meanwhile on board, it's full on for the skippers as they try to gain as much distance as possible.
I've made good progress in a southeasterly flow. It's very stable in terms of strength and direction, which is cool. I'm happy to be on the right side of the low pressure front, so that's great. Boris also managed to get through. He's over there. Here's the photo. This is the big front, and as is often the case behind fronts, there are often small areas with a little less wind. We run into them, the front moves forward, so we just can't get past it. We didn't manage to catch the front of the depression as planned. We were all too slow.
The chasing group, still becalmed, have many hours to ponder a way out. Around 10 boats decide to head to the south of the Azores on a reach. The fleet splits into several groups and the separation between them grows.
For first place, it's very, very complicated right now. Charlie is well ahead, but for second place, it's going to come down to the wire. I have the impression that Boris is attempting the Grand Tour via the north. Hats off to him, because it's an option that can be interesting, but daring.
Boris Herman is surprising everyone, especially the skeptics ashore. But the German's decision is a long-term investment to cash in on the downwind conditions on the way back down to France. To get around the high, he's planned to go as far north as the latitude of Northern Ireland. It's a gamble that'll take several days, but it's also sowing doubts in the skipper's mind.
There are a couple of risks attached to this route, lots of high pressure, and it could possibly block. Like tomorrow or in a couple of days near the Irish coast. I wasn't feeling ready to invest straight away into the east as much as Charlie did. So probably that was the rationale yesterday, and since then I put myself a little bit out of options.
The foilers who went south are really pushing to get under the Azores. It's a test of speed and will last several days before they switch to warrior mode upwind to climb back up towards Gibraltar.
Very good company. We got Thomas Rion just here. We've got Jamie Bayou just up here. We've got Seb Simon just up here somewhere.
Jeremy Bayou, Sebastien Simon, Thomas Rouillon and Sam Goodchild know that victory's out of their grasp, but they're fighting hard for a podium place.
We're in the meadows, it's just gone up to 26 knots. I've just found Sam. I'll try to film him for you. The English on the attack.
Further back, Johan Richomme, Sam Davis and Justin Metro are hanging on, but the pace has consequences. While sailing in strong breeze, Sam Goodchild is dismasted.
I imagine you've seen that we've dismasted. We no longer have a mast. We really don't quite know why yet. We're taking things one step at a time. Right now the technical team's working on solutions ashore for logistics, and I'm working on a makeshift rig to try and make more than 2 knots.
The skipper's safe and decides to make for the Azores under jury rig. 2,000 kilometres to the north, Boris Herrmann's race is picking up again as he jibes, picks up downwind speed and points his bow towards France. His gamble may yet pay off, but he'll need to maintain a high average speed right to the end to hold second place.
Hello, Charlie.
Hello, hello, it's Charlie. We're 85 miles from the finish of the New York-Vendee Les Sables d'Olonne. What a symbol.
On June 8th, after 10 days and 3 hours, Charlie Dalin crosses the finish line off Les Sables d'Olonne. His average speed, 13 knots over 3,700 miles.
Stop pour l'arrivée de Massif à 11h44 30 secondes.
It was a dominant performance from the skipper from Le Havre, his first solo victory on an IMOCA boat, and a perfect win just 5 months before the Vendee Globe.
I'm back to my best, and that feels great. This boat is brilliant, this Massif boat. She sails in all conditions. She goes fast upwind, downwind, crosswind. She's terrific. It was a great race. Had a lot of fun from start to finish.
Sunday morning, he sails through the legendary channel to a hero's welcome from the fans in Les Sables d'Olonne.
Elle fait plaisir. Allez, merci. Tiens, ça c'est pour toi. Tu l'as hautement mérité.
17 hours after the winner, in glorious sunshine and still speeding along, Boris Herrmann takes second place despite his extended route of 4,100 miles that he covered at an average speed of 12 knots.
Je me sens super, très ravi avec ma...
Congratulations, first of all, to Charlie. What a great race for him. I was lucky enough to do a lot of downwind sailing, a very northerly experience, so yeah, all round a great race.
It's a second podium finish in 2 races for the sailor from Hamburg, proving his nerve and the huge progress of his Militia team. He's also shown he'll be a serious contender for the Vendee Globe. Nearly 2 days after Charlie Dalin's win, it's time to decide the last spot on the podium, and it's being fought for right to the finish. Thomas Rouillon, Sebastien Simon and Jeremy Bayou have played out a match of the highest calibre. And it's Jeremy Bayou who takes third place, having shown extraordinary tenacity and strength to come out on top in what's been a difficult race for him.
I needed this podium. I really wanted to take something from this race, and for me, that's a victory.
In them, Sebastien Simon snatches 4th place thanks to a clever manoeuvre to the north. Meanwhile, it's bleak in the Atlantic with a high pressure system still clogging everything up.
There's no more wind at sea. We're stuck in this windless zone. The surface of the water is still. Look, the sail's not inflated. We're waiting for the wind. Come on, wind. Hurry up.
Sometimes when ocean racing, you can feel really, really alone. You're here all by yourself, just the sails, the wind, the grey skies. And sometimes you have company. Check this out. It's Savi. It's my Hungarian friend Savi on his boat.
Finally, 5 days after Dallan's arrival, the main fleet reaches the Vendee. Small groups of competitors are carried towards the French coast by a low-pressure system, finally completing the long North Atlantic crossing with some last turns of speed, just to end on a sporting high.